Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me in this review video of Star Trek The Original Series Season 2. So, today's episode was Season 2, Episode 7, Catspaw. So at first I had no idea what it was about. I did read, however, in one of the comments in my past video, which was Doomsday Machine, that this was going to be sort of a Halloween related video, and they weren't wrong. This was absolutely Halloween themed and a little bit offbeat than other episodes. I don't know, it is certainly different. So as you can see, I'm again back in my living room. I'm doing this because I am changing again. The set is no longer going to be in my bedroom. It's going to be in an office that I was able to set now in my apartment. So I'm still doing a little bit of changes. When it's ready, you'll be able to see it. And I hope it's going to be for the next Star Trek episode. This episode got less than 4 votes in the original list, so it goes straight to Patreon. If you want to watch all the exclusive episodes that do not appear on YouTube, you can become a patron. I will leave a link in the description box below. Remember that you can also follow me on Instagram, and you can also like, share, and subscribe and support my channel. Like I said before, this episode has a different tempo, I would say. It's a different rhythm, and I suppose it's because it's a Halloween special. This is not supposed to be like one of the most important episodes. It was supposed to be like a more light-hearted kind of episode. It felt that way. I actually felt it was a very quick episode considering of how light-paced it is. As always, let's make a very quick recap. So the Enterprise is again exploring like always, but apparently this landing party that has been in the surface of this planet has not reported back yet. So they are either waiting for Scotty or Sulu to report back. They have like 30 minutes delay. And the only person that does call back is some guy named Jackson, who is obviously part of this crew. But when he arrives, he falls dead. He goes hard like a toilet lid. And you have to wonder, okay, what happened to him? And what is keeping Sulu and Scotty in the surface? So our 3 main characters, Spock, Kirk, and Bones, go down to the surface, and they find that this planet has many elements that should not be in the ship. They start pointing out very important things, like the ship cannot read certain forms of life, while the tricorder, though, can actually read these forms of life. So there's a discrepancy here that I do not remember is addressed later in the episode. So you guys are gonna correct me if I'm mistaken here. They are greeted by 3 very spooky ghosts at the beginning who vocalize a curse and a warning for them not to enter the planet. Now, these 3 ghosts kind of reminded me of Clash of the Titans, the first one, that kind of looked the same fashion. As they continue traveling through this planet, they reach this very gothic type of castle with fog all around. And according to the tricorder, there's life in there, so they have to go and investigate. They are greeted by a cat. The insides of this castle are full of cobwebs and torches, and all of these elements that make, like, the dungeons kind of thing, like medieval torture. They speak of Iron Maidens. They fall into this booby trap, and they wake up to find themselves tied to the walls with chains. And Sulu and Scotty arrive, but they are like possessed, and they are pointing them with the phasers. They say absolutely nothing, but they kind of make themselves being understood to follow them. And they finally meet this character named Corob. So this Corob guy seems to be kind of nice, but not really that nice. He tries to bribe them with really expensive gems, but they just don't give in. And apparently this Corob guy has been testing them, and he found out that they are brave, they are honest, incorruptible. And so now this cat character, apparently her name is Sylvia, appears in this human form. So it is well known from the get-go that she is the reason why Scotty and Sulu are behaving this way. They are under her control. For some reason, this woman seems to be like a very powerful witch. She says that she uses other things, like she shows this figure of the Enterprise, and with her mind she can do like a voodoo kind of doll thing. She puts this ship around a candlelight, and in the Enterprise, for real, the temperature starts to get really high. So they know that she has certain power and that they cannot bargain that easily with her. Now on the Enterprise, this is something that was a very nice surprise. The Sal is now in charge of the Enterprise. And I mean, if I see, all of the higher ranking officers are already on this planet, so I didn't know exactly who would come after Sulu or after Scotty, and it's the Sal, who I already remember. I remember I saw him on the Esquire of Gothos. And like the Esquire of Gothos, we have a very similar situation here, where we have this very powerful, in kind of the psychic way, we know that it's an alien form that has absolutely no similarities with humans. They are interested in knowing and learning about humankind, and they both have like their specific points of interest, whereas Trelane was interested in the art of war, Sylvia is more interested in human sensations. I see many of these elements have been repeated. The medieval theme, the interest, the I can handle you, I can control you in any way I want, and you have absolutely no power to defend yourself with. This has already been repeated and in the same time of setting, so it's okay, I guess. Sylvia takes control over McCoy, and now it's only Spock and Kirk trying to save everyone else in this planet. And this is when we learn that Corob and Sylvia have very opposing points of view. They are not reaching an agreement, and Sylvia is absolutely decided to not do what she was supposed to do in the beginning, because she is just too overwhelmed with these new sensations that she has acquired now as a human. But even though she looks human, she's still very powerful. She tries to get Kirk to help her to have more experiences, and this is like a very open invitation, so he takes it. He starts seducing her, and while doing so, he is also obtaining information from her when she was actually the one thinking she was getting information from him. She finds out before things started to get a little bit hotter, and she starts accusing him of using her. Doesn't deny this. He pretty much tells her, yeah, I've been using you. What are you gonna do about it? But Corob has been watching this conversation. He doesn't seem happy about it, and he decides to help them to escape, because she has lost all rationality, because this has become some sort of a drug, I guess. And who could blame him? I mean, who wouldn't like this I'm every woman montage? While debriefing Sylvia, she mentions this transmuter. I can't remember what's the name. The transmuter. And apparently without this transmuter they really can't do much. So as a precaution, Corob leaves this kind of a force field around the Enterprise, and they cannot leave the ship, and he's gonna keep it there as soon as they solve whatever issue they have downstairs. I started to lose a little bit of concentration around this part. Chekhov, thank you to this miraculous wig, was able to find the solution, and he started diverting the power in order to debilitate at some points this force field. But his efforts seem to be null because in the end, Corob lifts this special force. He says that they were gonna break it anyway, but we really didn't get to see them doing it. He just lifted it. Corob tries to help them escape, but Sylvia, in the shape of this cat, becomes huge and doesn't let them escape. This is where the episode started to get a little bit silly, in my opinion. We saw these scenes that took us nowhere, where they were in and then they were back, and the cat would never shut up. Sylvia kills Corob by just squashing him down with a huge door. But before dying, he passes on this kind of a magic wand to Kirk. They end up fighting their own, that they're still mind controlled by Sylvia, and finally Kirk finds the solution to this entire thing. This magic wand that for some reason Kirk said this is important, then they just forgot about it next to this hole. They bring it back and he finds out that that's the transmuter. And as soon as he breaks it down on this table, everything is back to normal. It was that easy. He just had to do that and save the day. In the end, we get to see Sylvia and Corob in their true form, and they look like primitive Muppets. So this episode brought pretty much every single cliche from Halloween. The black cats, the cobwebs, the Iron Maidens, everything here was about Halloween. Apparently, this alien race was trying to learn about human nightmares, and they kind of took it wrong by considering these cliches as true human nightmares. Some of the things were kind of laughable, but I think they were involuntarily laughable, like calling a cat the what did they call it?
Cat is the most ruthless, most terrifying of animals.
Most ruthless, most terrifying of animals. I'm gonna disagree with that. I think some elements on this episode were really good at the beginning. Like, you know, this always the mystery. I think Star Trek has always been good at setting up the mystery at the beginning of the episode, but sometimes the execution and the conclusion of the episode is a little bit lackluster, I would say. So some elements have already been repeated in Star Trek, like the all-powerful alien race that can control humankind and we're just at their will. We already saw this in the Esquire of Gothas with Trelane. We also saw this in Who Mourns for Adonais with Apollo, and now we're seeing it here with Sylvia. But we also have to give it to this episode. It really doesn't take itself seriously. But I kind of feel a little bit flustered because I don't know if I'm being too condescending with this episode, or am I being offensive because I'm not taking it seriously, or should I be taking it seriously and then people will get offended? I'm not really. Something that I wish this episode had gone deeper into was this discussion that we saw between Corob and Sylvia. This discrepancy that he wants to obey the elders, I think they call them, but she wants to keep this human experience. And I think this is one of the most interesting premises, because this is an all-powerful being that has power beyond our imagination, and the human experience to it is just too beautiful. The sensations, and this is something that hasn't really been addressed in Star Trek, and I like the way that they pulled it here with Sylvia. She started to get, not, she's powerful, but she's having sensations. So she's in this power rush. She doesn't want to let go, and she wants to learn more about power because that's what she demanded Kirk to tell her. And this whole point started to get really interesting. Like, how far would a superior being would get to for this human experience? I thought this was really, really good. But on the other side, the things that I really didn't like about this episode was the way that they finished things. Like, oh yeah, I know that there was this force field and Chekhov was finally working on it, and then Kirk went just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna lift it up like that. Dude, there was already this big effort going on. Now, if we see what this alien race has to go through, it's kind of sad, I would say. They have to use this transmuter in order to become like us, but without this transmuter, their true form was not powerful enough to survive this planet that seems to be barren, I think. And this is really sad. This tiny meaningless object was destroyed out of just, protection, but it killed them, and why are these people in this planet to begin with? Are they also explorers? We know that they are not native to this planet, so what are they doing? Are they trying to survive? And if this is the case, this is even sadder because they lost miserably. But then again, how can they just interact with people? Because they try to keep ships away from them. They try to warn them, they try to scare them off, and then they pass the test. Like, if ships don't come by that often, it's going to be even more difficult for them to experience what other alien races experience, because they are basically shoving everyone away, and finally they pass this anti-corruption, this anti-doping, this anti-whatever test, and you narrow your chances to basically none. In my reaction video, you would see that I was really interested in how the Sal solved many of the problems that the Enterprise had to go through. I really liked his style of command. He doesn't get impressed easily. He is very logical when trying to find a solution. He likes to listen other people from the bridge. He is supportive. And he's relentless. I really liked his style. I feel I saw Sylvia from somewhere else, but I really can't pinpoint her. So next episode is season 2, episode 8, I Mud. So I do remember Mud's women. So I suppose I'm gonna see again the same actor, but I don't know if he's gonna be doing the same job that he did in the past episode, so I'll have to wait. But the name itself pretty much gave itself away. This episode had 6 votes in the original list, so the reaction video will be available on YouTube. Anyway, thank you for joining me in this episode. I'll see you in the next one. God bless and bye bye.